Okay, Vancouver. How are you, John?
I'm very well. Nice to
It,
be here.
oh, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. It's terrific to get to meet another McGill alum, obviously,
Yes.
as well as a another big hockey fan. So there's a lot of positives to this interaction, but I definitely appreciate your time. I know it's valuable, and our audience will too. So if we could just start by you just saying, give us, tell us your name, what you do, a tidbit of your background, that would be great.
Sure. My name is Jon Festinger. I am a lawyer and a teacher predominantly these days. I was at McGill for law school in the late 70s. I came out to Vancouver, articled, became an associate, became partner of a firm called Owen Bird. I had no idea when I accepted a position at Owen Bird that the Vancouver Canucks and a company called Wick Western International Communications, which was the largest regional broadcaster in Canada, and certainly in the West, were clients of the firm. So I just sort of walked into a series of influences that affected the rest of my life in a great many ways. I am married, have three children, the oldest of which is about to begin university. And after being at Owen Bird and practicing media law predominantly, I became general counsel of Wick, which in the early 90s became, for a while anyways, the largest broadcaster in the country, in Canada. And then the founder of the company passed away. A takeover battle ensued. I stayed long enough to help as much as I could to ensure that the family stayed in control, which they did. I then actually left law for a brief period of time, for about 4 years, to start up a new television station here in Vancouver for CTV. Really enjoyed that. Had a complete failure and meltdown in Web 2.0, in Web 1.0, I think it was. The end of that was kind of recruited away. To do that was a dismal failure. Although I'm very proud to say that the company changed its business plan, stayed together, and when it sold out a couple of years ago, I actually had my shares mature into real money. So I'm very grateful to everybody who managed to pull that off.
There you go.
So started a TV station called VTV, had my web misadventure, went back, practiced law for 5 years, and then was asked to become EVP Business and General Counsel of the Canucks from 2005 to 2010, late 2010, and then started practicing and doing a lot of teaching at UBC and elsewhere.
It's a fascinating background, and it'll lead to a lot of good conversation. What we're talking about, which is about this is a leadership series, and the first question I really want to ask you is, and I know it's a long answer, so we're going to try to keep it brief. What is your definition of leadership?
My definition of leadership is humanity. It's being human both within yourself and to others. And with that comes all of the other attributes, I think, that others focus on when they talk about leadership. Because if you're truly human and caring to others, then integrity comes as part of that package. Thoughtfulness comes as part of that package. Solving problems comes as part of that package. So I think it starts with not being afraid to be a real human being. And my criticism of leaders are of those who feel like they need to take a shortcut. Because that's fear and that's insecurity. And if you have to take a shortcut, whether it's, fudging how you report your numbers or appearing to be really hardcore so you can send a message to your employees, or whatever the flavor of the week that you might read on the 10 things that you've really got to do per Inc. magazine, you're cheating. You're cheating and you're lazy and you're not competent and you don't want to admit it. And I'm pretty hardcore on those guys because they are cheating. They don't want to think they are, but they are. They're afraid that they're not good enough. And when you take a shortcut, you just prove that you're not good enough.
Well, and that's certainly not integrity. And I know we talked about this, and I certainly do it. I'm sure you do too. I compare business with sports all the time. And as we talked, one of my favorite sayings that Peter Drucker said was, "Culture eats strategy for breakfast." You've been in law firms, you've been in media, you've been in sports. How does a leader create a winning culture?
Well, you do it not by you ever thinking you're doing it. The way a winning culture is created is through the people you work with. So you are enabling that. You're building bridges where there aren't any. You're just throwing people together and then in some way using whatever talents you have to mediate the communication. There's nothing more creative that ever happens in a business than around the water cooler. We all know that. It's an old axiom. So what is the magic of the water cooler for generating ideas? It's that people are being themselves and they're talking to each other.
Right.
And if you can do that, if you can remove the pretense, then I think you go a long way. Also, can I just raise one other thing, because it has to do with hockey, and I was thinking about it the other night. And there is one absolutely magical award that the NHL gives that no other league that I know of gives. And to me, the player who receives it is, in many ways, the best player in hockey. And you want to guess what that award is?
I'm thinking, I don't know if it's Bill Masterton?
No, Lady Byng.
The Lady Byng, I figured, okay.
Nobody else in any other sport that I know of. And it's fascinating that it's hockey that does it.
It is. Well, you may want to say briefly what Lady Byng is for our audience.
So the Lady Byng for the audience who is deprived by not being hockey fans, and really you're choosing to deprive yourself, is essentially the award for the cleanest, talented player in hockey. So you have to be a great player, and you have to have an extremely low penalty count, and it's essentially for the cleanest player. And when you think about what that represents, that player, and I think if you go through the history of the game and you see who wins those players are glue people on their team, because you don't get to win the Lady Byng if you've got an ego. There's no way in hockey you get to win the Lady Byng if you've got an ego. Because if you've got an ego, you're reacting. Somebody trips you, you don't trip me, I'll trip you back. Right. So there's a lot of incredibly positive qualities around that award, and I'm very proud that the NHL actually gives it. And if you think about it, it's an anomaly. And I think if I look at every business I'm in and every successful business I've worked with, there are Lady Byng candidates in all of them. And they are unsung, and they keep the place together, and more importantly, they keep the people together.
And that is a true leader. That's spectacular. I haven't had that yet, so I appreciate that. That's a great analogy. If we can, keep on the leadership track and talk about board members for a minute, because we're talking about coaches and managers now. Let's go to the next level and talk about board members. I'm sure you've been on and worked and with board members, all different types of businesses.
Yeah.
How do you look at what the right fit board member is for the particular business, particular stage of company, particular team, etc.? How do you look at that?
Well, so there are a couple of mythologies that I've observed. I've seen boards that worked and boards that were highly dysfunctional.
Me as well.
and the example I'll give you, because it's a matter of absolute pure public record, is the board of CTV before it was reconstituted. Where board meetings, you could read about them in the Globe and Mail the next day, because in the mid 90s, the fights were absolutely huge, and the magic was, I'm sure many of your viewers and you have read a great book called Getting to Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So they brought in, and I was privileged enough to be there and work with them. They brought in Roger Fisher.
Wow.
He solved the whole problem in a whole series of very magical ways. But dysfunctional boards, in my view, are about one very interesting true thing, and it's a legal phrase: the best interests of the company. And where you have, and if you think about that phrase and how malleable it is, it's very easy to understand how you could end up with, say, a board of 15 people who have 15 different definitions of the best interests of the company. And that's what I've seen, and this is just in my limited experience, go wrong with boards and with board members. So the key to go directly to your question, the key to a good board member is someone who can dig, understand, develop, and be part of a consensus around what the best interests of the company really means. And I don't see enough people really trying to do that. They feel, and in a sense they're entitled to feel, that it's their opinion that is the desirable quality. And both in law and I think in practical reality, it is their opinion in the context of what the best interest of the company means to the company. That is what is called for, and that's a little bit different. And I don't see that difference being amplified or talked about enough.
In the words of my UK friends, I think that's actually brilliant, because when we're doing board searches, there's a lot of evaluation. I mean, skills are there. There's a lot of evaluations on their commitment and the alignment of the vision to the CEO and everybody, and that's a great phrase, in the best interests of, that I'd like to use. So I think that's wise. And if you don't put the investment in before you select them as a board member, it's like picking the wrong free agent, right? At the end of the year, and he walks into the dressing room and the chemistry's on down the tube, basically.
Well, there is an amazing picture, which I'm very proud that the Canucks always had the courage to put up in GM Place, because it's a phenomenal picture. It's a picture of from around 98, 99, of Trevor Linden, Pavel Bure, I'm trying to remember the name of the Russian who was the top goal scorer, and one other superstar.
Fedorov?
Sorry? Fedorov.
Sergei Fedorov.
I think, was it Fedorov? Who was on the Canucks? Anyways.
On the Canucks? No, I don't remember.
No, it wasn't him.
Was it Alex McGillney?
McGillney and Mark Messier.
Wow.
All four of them were on one team that never made the playoffs. four absolutely great players who in effect formed the worst board of directors you could possibly have, not because each of them weren't supremely talented,
Right.
but because they couldn't agree in one form or another on what was in the best interests of the company, of the team.
Well, again, if you're not aligned, there's, remember the movie Mighty Ducks? One of the movies, he tied the kids together in a rope and said, "Okay, I want you to all go," and they all went different directions. And he said, "I'm not going to untie you until you learn how to go all the same direction." So,
And what's phenomenal about this picture, and why I'm so proud of the Canucks for having it up there, is because it's a picture of all four of them. It's a giant picture the size of an entire wall, and it's a picture of all four of them looking absolutely miserable, beyond words. You look at that picture and you understand the season. It's a very brave picture to have put up there.
well, that is a good way to conclude the first part of this. So we're going to continue now on to a little bit of the media aspect of it, and we'll do that in this next video. So we'll ask everybody to hang on.